Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Kickback with Chad and Ricky. We're not going to do a normal episode this week. Chad and I have made the decision that instead of talking about how professional sports is coming back or bringing on one of our great guests, we got to address what's going on right now in our country with the aftermath of the death, the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. It's a terrible thing to see. It's even worse to live through and experience. There's a whole lot of things that's going on in this world, and Chad and I have a responsibility to use our platforms to speak out on the subjects that we feel most passionately about. So today, we're going to have a conversation about racial inequality in America and how we, as individuals, can make the changes to make this world in our country and our neighborhoods and other neighborhoods a better place. Sound good?
Yep. So Ricky, first and foremost, you're my brother. What has this last week and a half been like for you?
Yeah, thanks for asking, man. So it's been a real conflicting and emotional past week, right? To see another instance of a black man that being murdered for reasons that are outside of his control, with the murder of George Floyd, right? It's another shocking and, paralyzing reminder that there's a lot of evil in this world, and a lot of it is based around the color of your skin and the color of my skin, right? And especially in America, it almost seems like at times that's almost seen like seen as a death sentence. All too many times we see that death sentence being played out in the news, and what we're seeing in the aftermath of what happened in Minneapolis, right? It should be shocking. It should be jarring. If anything, it should be eye-opening. And for me, at least, to have, I have a good amount of white friends, Chad. You're my boy, and to have a lot of people reach out, right, and want to have these conversations and trying to understand fully what's going on and what happened and what continues to happen. It's encouraging, but at the same time, it was a very conflicting week for me as a person who was filled with anger, right, and obviously sadness and a lot of fear, but we continue to move on, and I'm happy we're able to have this conversation and kind of get our thoughts out and how we can, move through this.
So you mentioned you have a good amount of white friends, myself being one of them.
Yeah.
When they reached out to you over the last week and a half, a lot were asking, what can they do? How can they help? What was your answer to them?
Yeah, so go back to the conflicting part, right? Part of me understands the reaching out to me, and I'm happy that we're having these conversations. At the same time, part of me feels like, why do we need to have these conversations? Why am I telling you what you need to do to help fight, racial inequality in America and police brutality? But, my response to you and a lot of my other friends was the work is not done in protest. The work is not done by you posting a black image on Instagram, right? The work is done when you are with your friends, and I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
And we all joke in our group of friends, and everybody says stuff that they don't necessarily mean, right? I say stuff in front of you, you say stuff in front of me that we probably wouldn't repeat necessarily outside of the confines of our conversation. But with something as serious as race, right? Your conversation and your joke with your friends, your other white friends, right? Chad, I know you're not racist. At the same time, by you not calling out, a racist or insensitive comment, right? That, that fosters an environment where that can live and continue to grow. And while you are moving in and out of those conversations and back into groups, where you have friends of different races and you're all good and, we all appreciate each other for what we are, you don't know what your friends are doing and who they're hanging out with and the conversations that are being allowed to foster there in the environment that offsprings, right? And, you have no idea. These people might grow up and take a position of power, like a police officer, right? And all of a sudden, all those jokes that started out as, haha, so-and-so was kind of funny, but I know he doesn't mean it like that. It has now spiraled all the way into, we have somebody that is in a position that is supposed to serve and protect, thinking that those jokes are actually how life is and how Black people are, or people of other races actually are. And now they have guns and the power to arrest you and change your life or end your life. And I think my biggest point that I wanted everybody to understand was the seriousness of what idleness does and what that could lead to.
I think we're referring to there is like, let's say I'm in an all-white fantasy football league.
Yeah.
If there are derogatory terms being thrown around and they're being chuckled about, it just needs to be cut out in general. It completely needs to be cut out. Not okay.
Yeah, and I understand and I recognize, right? Like, I don't have too much, we all know right from wrong, right? So we don't have too much sympathy for people knowingly letting insensitive things pass. But I understand that's hard to call out these things amongst your group of friends. That's why I say the work is not done protesting and, breaking windows alongside somebody because you think you're fighting to help fight for their rights. Nobody asked you to do that. Nobody asked you to do an Instagram post in solidarity. What we are asking you to do is the actual hard work of nipping these things at the root. And the root is behind closed doors, usually where Black people or other minorities aren't around. So yeah, man, fantasy football leagues, right? Group chats, everybody's getting exposed on Snapchat these days for, just flat out racism, thinking that it's funny. And you're seeing the repercussions of this where people are exposing you and either your school, your employment, are being taken away, and rightfully so. And I hope that as a society, these public humiliations are reminders of how severe your words actually can be. Yeah. And not nearly as severe as what could happen to you by saying those words, by losing a scholarship or losing your job, compared to somebody losing their life.
Right. And you mentioned, having to do work behind closed doors when nobody's watching. Right. You listen to sports radio talk shows, TV shows. Now more than ever, you've got people asking, what can we do? How can we help? There is something that I would really like to promote, and that is volunteering and being a mentor at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. Chicago's youth, inner city youth, is starving and desperate for more mentors, more inspirational people in their lives, and generally just more hope. I started volunteering 3 years ago. It has changed my life. I'm no longer just a volunteer. I am a mainstay in these kids' lives. Just 3 weeks into becoming a mentor at the Boys and Girls Club, I had a 5th grade boy who lost his father to gun violence ask me if I could be his new father. Obviously, I had explained to him, no, I can't be your new father, but for 3 years now, I've been along his side, watching him grow. He goes to high school next year. I cannot wait to watch him grow through that. Not only do you make an impact in kids' lives, but I've learned about systemic racism over the last 3 years. I've learned about the lack of funding, the lack of extracurricular activities these kids have. And it really doesn't take a lot. What I'm sick of too, and yes, I'm calling my friends out right now. I'm sick of them saying, oh, I've thought about doing that. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Oh, I've thought about it. Listen, do it. Get involved and make a freaking impact. The Jordan Club, I am the only male mentor at that club. There is a full-length basketball court, a brand new weight room, a brand new recording music studio and a computer lab. Who's there using it with them? No one. You know who can? You can. Any of you watching? You can. Take an hour out of your week and frickin' do it. Get involved with the community and make a difference.
Yeah, there's no excuse to be on the sidelines anymore. If you didn't think that a murder was your wake-up call to be a part of that change, if you didn't think that buildings being set on fire and that actually being the representation of somebody who has been silenced and unheard and their cries been unmet, right, with the response, that is the result of that. And if that didn't wake up your eyes, so we actually have a problem. And instead of just pointing at, well, you should do better and you should just pick yourself up by the bootstraps and improve your life, why don't you do your part in helping out a young person's life?
Hey, you know, like you said, that black box people were posting on Instagram, that was cute. That was really cute. It's not even close to good enough. Get out, make a freaking difference. Learn about what's going on.
That's really all what it's about, right, Chad? We have you and I, and we talked about this before, we have the beauty of having perspective, right? I have grown up around different people in different backgrounds. I have friends of all races, you do too. And the one thing that we are able to do is appreciate each other for why we're different. There's not a colorblind world we're going to evolve into. That's a utopia that doesn't exist. There will always be white, black, Hispanic, right, Asian, right? But at the end of the day, what we should be working towards is understanding and appreciating what makes those people beautiful. And you want to go back to making assumptions negatively about groups of people. Just look inward. What can somebody say about you based on the color of your skin or your gender or your height, right? If we extrapolated that out to everybody that looked like you and sounded like you would really hate to be a part of that group. So unless you are actually in the inner cities or helping out low-income families, there's not much you should say beyond showing your solidarity and donating and volunteering when you can.
And you know, there's no telling what can happen after you become a volunteer. Obviously, the Boys and Girls Club is what I'm promoting, but there's plenty of organizations around the city. Who knows who you're going to meet and what those people are doing to help others, where you can also get involved with that. You know, there's one other crowd I think needs to be addressed, and that is the All Lives Matter crowd. Ricky?
Yeah, All Lives Matter, it kind of was it's kind of the table stakes, right? Saying that all lives matter should be the common denominator for every single human being in this country or on this planet. We all know that is not the case in our current state, right? By saying Black Lives Matter, that does not mean Black lives are superior, right? When you go back and you look at the civil rights movement, right? That was for civil rights. That is for rights that are civil, right? Nobody wants global domination of, the African race. The goal here is for equal rights. Even the LGBTQ community, they just wanted, equal rights.
They didn't want to be kings of the world, queens of the world. They just want equal.
And then today, when we say Black Lives Matter, we're saying Black lives are equal. And when you respond with all lives matter, that is, once again, you telling me that the cries of some people aren't as important as the cries of others, right? People marched and protested outside for a haircut and to be able to get their upright row on at the gym, People are protesting in the street for lives to matter. And this is your answer to that.
Right.
It's never going to make sense to me when all people ask for is to be equal and you respond with but.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, Grayson with you, he's still in the infant stage. You know, you're not having these in-depth, serious conversations with him. But when he does get to that point, what are some of the first things you're going to tell him as your son?
Yeah, right off the bat, the same thing that every Black child is told. You are Black in America. And when you are told that, that comes with some things that you have to be extra cautious about, right? When you are told that when you get pulled over by the police, don't do anything. Don't talk back. Don't say anything out of line. Don't reach for anything too quick. And while we should all be teaching our kids that, right? More times than not, only one of our children aren't coming home in that situation. It's scary, but it's the truth. And we have to protect our children in knowing the truth, right? And when you get married, have a bunch of babies, beautiful babies, right? And you have to, and you see these things happen, like what happened in Minneapolis, right? And your kid asks you, you know, what's going on and what you should tell them. You know, it's really up to you to, you know, do that work beforehand to let them know what's really going on right now. And because, yes, you have a friend that is Black or you have a friend that's Latino or, you know, Asian, let them know that sometimes they get treated differently and it has nothing to do but because of their color of skin. It's okay to let kids know that. Honestly, we're at a point now where going forward for the rest of this year, 2021, 2022, there's about to be a lot of uncomfort in a lot of communities. You know, a lot of people who are used to the status quo, who are used to turning on their NASCAR cup race and not seeing any Black faces. But all of a sudden next week, they're going to see a Black Lives Matter car race by Bubba Watson. That's going to be uncomfortable. And you know what? You're going to see a lot of ugliness on the internet that's going to come with that. And when you see those things, I want that to just be another reminder to you about how far we have to go and how many people are beyond the point of saving, right? So when you watch the NFL this year and you know they're going to kneel during the anthem, instead of, you know, looking at it in disgust, do what Drew Brees did. You have an opinion. You are, you know, in your own bubble about your opinion. But when you are presented as bluntly as it was presented to him this past week, how his opinion was insulated and selfish, you know, you start to progress and develop on your stance.
Right.
That's all we're asking for people to do.
It's healthy to do.
It's, if you look at your circle and everybody around you thinks just like you do, you're never going to grow.
Yeah, it's not about butting heads. Take one another's opinions constructively.
Right.
We're not all to get one another. Maybe if you don't take something so offensively, maybe you can learn something.
Yeah, we're in such a polarizing world right now, and it's just like, oh my God, you're either red or you're blue. And never once in my life have I like just affiliated myself. Doug, I never even joined a gang in my life. What am I doing declaring a political party? That's the biggest gangs in our country right now. And the fact that people are riding or dying on one side or the other about every single topic, as long as that their mascot is spewing it out of their mouth, that is the most unhealthy thing that we have in our society right now, outside of systematic racism, right? The whole goal of life is to continue to gain knowledge. The whole goal of life is to continue to gain perspective. And the day that you stop gaining perspective is the day that you stop gaining knowledge. And the day that you stop gaining knowledge is the day that you stop learning. And the day that you stop learning is the day that you stop living. And I hope everybody who is on their 2 feet and not 6 feet under the ground wants to continue to live their life as fully as they possibly can. And you can't do that if your head is in the sand about subjects because you feel like you're right about it and the people around you feel like they're right about it. You got to step outside your comfort zone if you ever want to grow.
Yep. And as you mentioned, a lot of people are going to be upset online in the coming months, coming weeks, coming months, probably for the next years to come. No matter what's being said online, behind the internet, like you said, behind closed doors, continue to find a way to make an impact.
Do that, and then continuing to watch Kickback with Chad and Ricky. You want the best melting pot series in the game. This is, I don't know where Chad's at. This is what it's all about. Right? 2 people, different backgrounds, different races, brothers for life, met each other, knew that we thought like-minded on a lot of subjects, knew that we thought differently on other subjects. Do we disagree on stuff? Absolutely. Do we have conversations about it? For sure. Do we continue to grow and build together? 100%. Do that with your group of friends or expand your friend network.
Yep.
Regardless, we're going to keep on rolling out. We're going to keep on pushing through. We love each and every one of you guys that, are with us on this journey. Just continue to step outside of what you consider the norm and open up your mind to opinions that are outside of what you believe to be your core beliefs or values, right? It's okay. It's okay. New information is good. Develop, learn, grow. We got this. We got this.
Kick back, Jan and Ricky.